Hold on here. Yikes. Hold on. What are we doing here? What's happening? Here we go. Are we straight? I'm not sure. Well, is our paper straight? Okay, let's take a look and see how we are doing here. All right, let me look here at my channel. Viewing a channel. Okay. We are live. All right. Hello. Hi, Miss Julie. Hello, Estelle. Hello. Are we okay for are we leaning one way or the other? Are we okay, everybody? Looks good. Thank you so much. Is it Rick or Ricky Thompson? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hello, CC. Good evening. Good evening. Kaya, welcome. Good evening, Lee, J Jack. Hello. Welcome in, Shelly. Hi. Thanks for coming over, everyone. It looks great. Okay, phew. Thank you so much. Glad to hear it. I'm glad we're doing all right here. Sometimes I just don't know. I'm like, wait, am I tilted to the left or is it the paper? I know. Sometimes I don't know. Good evening. Hello. Hi, unicorn. Oh my gosh. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. So I'm very thankful here. I was able to come on tonight. I do try to come on Tuesdays on the YouTubes here. So thankful for that. Good evening. Hello, Meme NATO. Hello. Hello, Tiffany. Watching my TV. Really? All right. Yeah, let me know how it turns out. If it turns out all right or not. I will have to see. Now, I had planned. Hello, Jolie. Good to see you. Hello, Kathy. I've been doing a lot of executive orders over here. We've done a few cases, but primarily it's been executive orders, and those are very important. But I thought we had talked about this lawsuit a little bit the last time, and I thought, let's just kind of take a peek here and see how it went. Now, hold on a second. I got to grab the docket out of the printer. All right, here we are. Hello, Willie B. Hello. Really, Sharknado. You know how I feel about Sharknado. I love Sharknado. It's got me through some dark times. It's gotten me through some really dark days. So it's my go-to comfort movie. But yes, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Yes, indeed. They're always, well, oh my goodness. I know we've had a rough couple of weeks here, everybody. I know it's been a bit rough. And I don't see it getting particularly better anytime soon, but hopefully it won't get worse. So there's that. Let's just maintain what we have for the moment. That would be great. You haven't seen Sharknado. You're missing out. Estelle. Hello, John. Good evening. June Marie. Hi. Yes. So I would have to say it's not for everybody. It's really not for everybody. You have to acknowledge that you're about to watch a really, really ridiculous movie. But then if you acknowledge that and you're in the moment, then it's just, it's, chef's kiss. I absolutely adored it. It's kind of funny. Oh, I know. I literally laugh until there are tears running down my face and I fall off whatever thing I'm on. It's the couch or chair. I'm on the floor because it's so fun. Make a stitch about a bridge and Kool-Aid. Really? Still waiting. Really? Was watching so okay. Very interesting. Yeah, we got to keep going forward. It's always nice when you can use what you've done as inspiration for new bits. So that's always great. Hello, Carrie. Hello, James. Hello, Miss Betharoni. Welcome in, Trina. Hello, Donna. Oh my gosh, what a great spelling of that name. Oh my gosh, Donna, I love that. I love that. No, it's not. It's not that interesting if you haven't seen it. Well, all right. I don't know. I think anything can be interesting with the right mindset, right? As I tell myself. Hashtag Sharknado. Oh, you made it. Yes, welcome in, Professional Spoonie. Welcome in. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so they're showing Jaws 3D later this summer for the 50th anniversary. Oh my gosh, really? Oh, I've got to go see that. Anytime they put Jaws in the theater, I have to go see it. I mean, there's just nothing like seeing it on the big, huge screen for sure. Moment of absurdity. Well, there's a lot of that going around. So there's a lot of that going around. So that's all right. That's all right. Well, welcome in, everybody. Here we go. Let's get the show on the road here. Tonight, I would like to go through the Los Angeles Press Club versus Noem case. This was brought by the people who were reporting on the protests in Los Angeles, and multiple reporters were hurt and other people just watching. So there's several plaintiffs here, and they brought this lawsuit, and they are asking the judge to put an injunction into place to make it so that excessive force is not used by Noem and her people, the cubes, in order to make it safe. Now, as we know, excessive force is illegal. Now, winning an excessive force case, that's another issue, but it is technically illegal. So that's what they're using here. They're coming in and they're saying you are using way too much force, more than what's necessary for the situation, and we would like an injunction in that. So far they have filed, I believe, a protective request for a restraining order, and they have requested a preliminary injunction, and I thought they had a TPR that they had filed for. Let me just look here again. Well, I guess not, but they have not been granted that. So no injunction has been granted at this point. So, I think that's interesting. But they have requested this expedited discovery. Now, as I've been talking about recently, if you've been over on the talk at all, everyone, if you haven't, let me tell you about it. We've had multiple cases where plaintiffs are requesting expedited discovery, which means like, let's get this discovery done, because there's a lot of stuff going on. So several judges have granted it. Several judges have said, no, we don't need to do expedited discovery, but we're having a lot. That's kind of trending right now, is to have the expedited discovery. So that has been put in here. And again, we do have, so we've got opposition to that. Civil standing order, text only entry. This is a bit of a hassle here because we don't have, we don't know exactly what's happening in this moment, but at this point we're still waiting to see, and it's still very early. This was filed on June 18th, I believe. So as of right now, it does not appear that any of the injunctions or restraining orders have been granted at this point. And it looks here, there's the restraining order. Plaintiffs have actually been denied. Now, an ex parte application, let me just clarify what that is here. Ex parte application means only one party is talking to the judge about it. So in our cases, we of course have to include the other party for everything. This is civil litigation, and every time we talk to the judge, we need both sides there. There are some exceptions for restraining orders and various things in that kind of line of requests, and you can apply for a restraining order in some situations ex parte, which means only one party has, been talking to the judge. So that's, again, we're very early here in the case, but I thought, well, let's go through the complaint. I think there's some really interesting points that they have here. We've got the First Amendment being challenged all over the place. We're still in Boston, everyone, with the First Amendment lawsuit, the very first case that is being tried, bench trial, regarding the revocation of visas based off of pro-Palestinian sentiments. So First Amendment protesting pro-Palestinian, they're claiming that's a violation of, or that they're being prejudicial against Jewish people, and they're using that as a way to revoke visas. So that's what's been going on in Boston last week and this week. The trial, I believe, is still going on. We had defense put some witnesses on yesterday, so I believe it's still continuing. So that's going on. That's a First Amendment issue. We've got several other First Amendment cases, and so that's kind of where we're at here, where they are saying, look, we're assembling, we're protesting under our First Amendment right to do that, and excessive force is being used. So let me just get my sticky note ready here for everyone. Hopefully that summary was helpful. Did anybody see Hawk's video where somebody, oh my gosh, a woman had said she was so thankful for another woman who had called Bojangles like Bohongalas. Oh my gosh, I laugh every time I think about it. That's so funny. Oh my goodness gracious. Very funny. So if you get a chance to see that. All right, here we go. So let me put our case number here. And again, I will be going through the complaint right now. I, again, have no idea how far this case will go or, where it will go. There haven't been a lot of protests that have gotten this far, protest cases yet. So we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on it. So this is the complaint that I will be reading, and it was filed on the 18th, so June 18th. All right, there we go. There we go. You call it that sometimes too. I love it. I think that's fascinating. That's fabulous. Words are fun. Why can't we have fun with words, right? Oh, hello, Sylvia. Hello. Yes. Oh, I hope everybody got notifications. I did put a note up over on TikTok, but you just never know if people get their notifications. So, First Amendment only applies to him. True story. Absolutely. Okay. We say it to be funny down here in my area. Love it. You see why? Yeah, I think it's wonderful. We love it. Why not? Why not? Just, be free. Use your, language. It should be fun. And right now, everyone, you need to steal your laughs wherever you can. Absolutely. Just steal them. You have my permission. All right? Just don't confess to stealing them. All right, here we go. Let's dive in. Enough of that shenanigans, everyone. Oh my gosh. Cajun chicken biscuit, really? Oh, that sounds really nice. We don't have any of that in my area. We have a lot of ranch dressing. That's about it. All right, United States District Court, Central District of California. Here's our complaint. The case number has been applied here. So we do have that on my little sticky note here. We have counsel of record for the plaintiffs, and let's just go ahead and dive in then. Buttermilk ranch or plain, it depends. And I mean that from the heart. It really depends. Like mozzarella sticks, that's going to be buttermilk, but any kind of a sandwich, that's going to be the regular. Yep, yep. That's how we work here. And I've got a dill ranch right now that's just changing my world. Oh my goodness. Do you make your Yeah, I do sometimes. Sometimes I do. But it depends. Sometimes I'm just like, man, whatever. We'll just grab what we can. All right, here we go. Plaintiffs, Los Angeles Press Club, News Guild, Communication Workers of America, Sean Beckner, Car Mitchell, Ryan Mina. Like, everybody, hold on a minute. Pause. What's this about here? What's going on here with that? Why why do you have an extra N and an E? I'm curious. I'm not judging. I'm just curious. Is it necessary? Right? Oh my goodness gracious. All right, all right. Sorry, Ryan. Ryan Mina, Lexus Olivier, Ray, Charles Sue, Benjamin Adam Clymer, and Abigail Olmeda bring this action for injunctive relief against defendant Christy Noem in her official capacity as Secretary of Homeland Security and the United States Department of Homeland Security, and allege as follows. Female form of Ryan. Well, that could be, couldn't it? I suppose you're right. When you're adding an E to the end, you're definitely putting it down that road. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yes, creative, for sure, for sure. All I can think of is that skit, everyone, where it's like Aaron or Balaki. It cracks me up. All right, here's our introduction. Wanted a junior. Oh, that's a good point, too, right? All right, here we go. My ADHD is like working hard tonight, everyone. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Introduction. Plaintiffs are reporters, legal observers, which I love, and protesters who seek injunctive relief to prevent defendant Department of Homeland Security from using unnecessary and excessive force, violence to prevent them from exercising their First Amendment rights to report on, observe, and protest government actions. From Thomas Paines, if Thomas Paines getting quoted, you know it's going to be good, right? From Thomas Paines handing out pamphlets to the Boston Tea Party, to the women's suffrage movement, to the civil rights movement, to the Black Lives Matter movement, the cornerstone of this country's public course for nearly 250 years has been the right to protest, to report on it, to challenge the government's portrayal of events, and to publicly debate those issues. Without the right to engage in that discourse, the United States loses critical checks on government power that are essential to our constitutional democracy. Suppressing the rights of the free press and protesters is the calling card of cowardly dictators and threatens to destroy our nation. All right, well, they're not holding back. That was just paragraph 1. Number 2, on June 6th of 2025, the Trump administration began an ongoing series of indiscriminate and terrifying immigration raids across Southern California. DHS officers have come in masks, wearing heavy paramilitary gear, and without visible identifying information, brandishing rifles and abducting community members from churches, local businesses, and courthouse, where they seek their constitutionally protected right to due process. Protests began almost immediately. Californians concerned about their families, congregation members, fellow workers, and neighbors showed up at sites of reported raids to peacefully protest the federal government's invasion of their neighborhoods and violent separation of their families, to remind targeted community members of their legal rights, and to document how the government was mistreating those exercising their First Amendment rights. Right. And as a quick side note too, have you all seen, or are you getting any of those posts on TikTok and even over here for the YouTube shorts where they're doxing all of the cubes? Are you seeing those posts at all? I'm just wondering, I'm usually not for doxing, but again, I am for, if you have public information out there, it's going to be used, however it's going to be used, right? No, yes, yes. I'm not seeing that. Okay, okay. No, right. I keep feeling, my question's always intense. If anyone really wanted to, uh, I've seen a few. Yeah, I've been wondering, talking about the site for it. All right, fair enough. In this instance, right. Honestly, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, truly. And I feel that way because any of that information that's available, and the ones I'm seeing are where they have found them on Facebook. So they find them on Facebook or LinkedIn or through a profile at online, and they're showing those pictures. So for me, that seems like that's fair game here. And I'm hoping, though, that there isn't some kind of a malicious intent regarding harming them versus just an acknowledgement so people in the community know who's there that's doing that. There's a website, really? Okay, interesting. I think that's a really interesting question. We always were in a lot of Trump's cases where we had judges being doxxed and we had some swatting going on and such. It was horrifying. But then I'm thinking in this situation, what's that information being used for? So that's a good question. Really, might as well use it to reverse search. Well, that's interesting. All right, here we go. At each protest, DHS officers have unnecessarily and indiscriminately targeted, assaulted, tear gassed, pepper sprayed, and shot protesters exercising their right to assemble to voice their disagreement with the government. Reporters covering these events and legal observers seeking to document the government's conduct. DHS is abusing militarized weapons in ways that needlessly imperil everyone present, and that federal courts have repeatedly prohibited to deter people from reporting, observing, and protesting. As promised by the Secretary of DHS, Kristi Noem, and President Trump, they've used the violent spectacle created by DHS as a reason to commandeer the National Guard and send the United States Marines into California, which in turn has generated more widespread protests. While trying to suppress protected speech about DHS's unnecessary and excessive use of force, the government's broadcasting its own messages about the protests and immigration raids. Its ongoing effort to monopolize the marketplace of ideas through violence violates the First, the Fourth, and Fifth Amendments, is chilling people from exercising their rights to peacefully report, observe, and protest, has needlessly caused violence, is harming the public, and is irreparably injuring plaintiffs. So these are some terms that we like to use when we're talking about the First Amendment because of case precedents. So these are some of the words that we want to make sure to toss out there when we're going through. Here's the parties. Now, I usually don't spend much time on the parties piece, but I honestly just don't know who of these people are here. I'm sorry, everybody. I have my hair in a bun, and I have this little chopstick I'm using, and it's driving me crazy. It's so loud. So hold on. I need a different chopstick. One moment, please. Here we go. Okay, we're going to get a blue butterfly. There we go. Oh, nice and quiet. Phew. All right, here we go. Back in it. The parties. Plaintiff Los Angeles Press Club is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting, promoting, and defending quality journalism in Southern California. Its core mission is to encourage journalists and involve the public in recognizing outstanding journalism, based on the belief that free press is crucial to a free society. The LA Press Club has more than 1,000 journalist members throughout Southern California. During June of 2025, at protests in the Los Angeles area, multiple members of the LA Press Club have been subject to use of force or suffered serious violations of press rights by federal officers. As a result, the LA Press Club has had to divert hundreds of staff hours and significant resources from the other club activities, including working on the details, logistics, and fundraising for the largest annual fundraising and awards program to address press rights violations by DHS officials. The Los Angeles Press Club's headquarters is in Los Angeles. Plaintiff News Guild Communication Workers of America, CWA, is the largest labor union representing journalists and media professionals in North America, including workers in California and the Central District of California. CWA is dedicated to supporting quality journalism, defending democracy, and improving workplace conditions for workers in the news industry. In reporting on the protest of ICE raids in the Los Angeles area, multiple members of CWA were injured by the indiscriminate and improper use of militarized weapons aimed at journalists as a result of the violence perpetrated by DHS agents. Several staffers have had to cancel scheduled meetings and postpone both National Labor Relations Act representative responsibilities and administrative operations to focus their time on supporting members who have been injured while reporting on the protests in Los Angeles. CWA's headquarters is in Washington. Plaintiff Sean Beckner Carmichael is a California resident who lives in Los Angeles. He's a freelance journalist who has produced video news stories in international, national, and local media outlets, including the New York Times, CNN, Good Morning America, and Al Jazeera. I never know how to say this one correctly, but you know what we're talking about. Sean has also authored stories for a variety of media outlets, including Cal Matters and the Beverly Hills Courier. In his 6-year career, Mr. Beckner Carmichael has covered many protests. Hello, Kristen. Good to see you. Hello, Upgrade. Hello, Sarah. Welcome in, everybody. On June 7th of 2025, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was injured by DHS while covering the aftermath of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement immigration raid at the Home Depot in Paramount. And on June 8th, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was injured by DHS while covering a protest of the immigration raids in the Boyle Heights community. Whoa, he got hit twice. Yikes. That's too bad. Plaintiff Ryan Mina is a California resident who lives in Los Angeles. Ooh, it is a woman, or it is a she. She has covered crime and public safety for the Southern California News Group, which includes the Orange County Register, the Riverside Press Enterprise, Los Angeles. I don't know if that's if it's a typo or not. Daily News and other local publications. Ms. Mina is a member of CWA. As a professional and student journalist, Ryan has attended dozens of protests. On June 6th, Ms. Mina was injured by DHS while covering the protest outside of the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles. And on June 7th, Ms. Mina was injured by DHS while covering the aftermath of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement raid at the Home Depot in Paramount. Wow, so she got dinged twice. Again. Plaintiff Lexus Olivier Ray is a California resident who lives in Los Angeles. He is a staff investigative reporter for LA Taco, an independent media platform founded in 2006, where he focuses on crime, homelessness, and the Los Angeles Police Department. He was named a distinguished journalist by the Society for Professional Journalists Los Angeles chapter in 2022. His work has appeared in the LA Times, Men's Health magazine, KSET, and SF Gate. He is a member of the Los Angeles Press Club. On June 7th, Mr. Ray was subjected to tear gas and shot with pepper balls by DHS while covering the protests outside the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles. Plaintiff Charles Sue is a California resident, lives in Los Angeles County. Mr. Sue is a legal observer on behalf of the National Lawyers Guild of Los Angeles. See, this is genius. This is what we've been talking about. Like, just go and observe people, and, we're going to call you into court. and have you testify. As a legal observer, Mr. Zhu helps to observe and document the behavior of law enforcement officials, including their weaponry, arrest tactics, and the use of force at various protests and direct actions. He started legal observing in early November of 2020 and has observed more than 200 protests in Southern California. On June 7th, Mr. Tsu was injured by DHS while attending the protest at the Home Depot in Paramount near the intersection of Alondra Boulevard and Atlantic Place as a legal observer. Yikes. 12. Plaintiff Benjamin Adam Clymer is a California resident who lives in Los Angeles County. Mr. Clymer is a trained emergency medical technician. Oh no. Oh no. Did an EMT get hit and is the training director for the Unarmed Model of Crisis Response, which is an alternative to law enforcement crisis response program within the city of Los Angeles. He participated in numerous protests. On June 7th, Mr. Clymer was injured by DHS while attending the protest at the Home Depot in Paramount near the intersection of Alondra Boulevard and Atlantic Place. Plaintiff Abigail Olmeda is a California resident who lives in Anaheim. Ms. Olmeda was born and raised in Anaheim, is the mother of 2 children, previously worked for the city of Santa Ana, and is currently a student at Cypress College. On June 9th, she attended the protest at the Federal Building in Santa Ana at 34 Civic Center Plaza. Ms. Olmeda was injured by DHS while attending the protest with her spouse and sister, motivated by concerns over ICE actions in her community and a belief in peaceful protest to protect people's rights. 14, defendant U.S. Department. Okay, we're switching to defendants now, okay? U.S. Department of Homeland Security is a department of the executive branch of the United States government responsible for coordinating immigration enforcement actions. And ICE, Customs, so we've got CBP, Custom and Borders Protection, DHS Management Directorate are component agencies within the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security Investigation, or HSI, is a subordinate agency housed within ICE. Well, the Federal Protective Service, FPS, is a subordinate agency housed within the DHS Management Directorate. Upon information and belief, the Los Angeles field officer for ICE manages the agency's operations throughout the Central District of California. The chief patrol agent for El Centro sector of CBP is and has been at all times relevant to this action. The lead federal coordinator of CBP entitles entities in Los Angeles, Region 9 of the FPS, manages operations throughout California, Nevada, and Arizona. All right, and then last, defendant Christy Noem is the Secretary of Homeland Security and head of the Department of Homeland Security. Starting June 6th, Secretary Noem directed ICE, CBP, and HSI to engage in enforcement actions in the Los Angeles area and authorized agents to use dangerous militarized methods that have targeted protesters and journalists exercising their First Amendment rights. Here we go. And then we've got jurisdiction set here, which we don't need to go through. We've got factual allegations here. So we're going to get into the facts here because I think it's important to hear their side of what the facts are. But we do have pictures and we also have counts. And so I want to definitely make sure we get to the causes of action here. All right, so here we go. The federal government begins a deeply unpopular immigration enforcement operation in Southern California in June of 2025. Donald Trump's second presidential term has seen a dramatic and unprecedented escalation in immigration arrests and detention efforts. Upon returning to power, the Trump administration began to intensify and expand its domestic immigration enforcement, setting a new sky-high targets for daily immigration arrests and expanding the scope of its operations far beyond immigrants with criminal histories. Far beyond, for sure. By June of 2025, ICE had detained more than 100,000 people in just over 5 months. So, and I would pause here and I would say, Our prisons are so overcrowded because we put so many people in prison. And so now we're talking about 100,000 people in detention centers. Like, are you freaking kidding me? There's no way that there's enough beds for everyone, with arrest spiking at more than 2,000 people per day. I mean, come on. And they're also going after the easy ones as well. The easiest ones to get in this situation. Most without criminal records. Right, right. Those that, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're not all here illegally. Exactly. So let's skip here. They're going through the different operations that they did. So we've got June 6th, June 7th, June 8th, and 9th. I think we have a pretty good idea of what that had looked like. June 11th here, more ICE raids, a news conference on June 12th, where she said we're going to keep doing it, so deal with it. Here, so number 2, that's, again, they're just kind of setting the stage here. The local community rallies to protest the increasing violence and frequency of immigration raids. So let's read our first couple paragraphs here. Accounts of indiscriminate arrests and deplorable conditions for detainees in Los Angeles rapidly spread online and in the traditional press. The lawlessness sparked outrage among impacted family members, concerned citizens, immigrant rights advocates, local officials, and the broader community. Here, so that's a lot. Here we go, condemnation. And now DHS responds to the protest with overwhelming and illegal violence. Each time the community rises in protest, DHS retaliates with sweeping excessive force. Federal agents in fatigues and paramilitary gear recklessly shoot pepper balls and rubber bullets at peaceful protesters, inflicting traumatic injuries. They have launched volleys of tear gas and flashbang grenades at groups of demonstrators that included children and elders, clergy, and elected officials. So, the issue here isn't necessarily that they are there. The issue is the amount of force that's being used. And again, I would say excessive force being used by law enforcement is one of those situations where that will overcome any kind of qualified immunity. And a lot of people don't realize that. But the qualified immunity that is given to law enforcement and various people saying, like, I'm, doing my job, that excessive force will overcome that immunity defense. Not every time, but it's absolutely possible. The other thing, too, that I think is really interesting is I'm not sure exactly the role of the ICE agents, because they're federal agents, but they're operating within the administrative civil law world. So are they certified peace officers then, which all law enforcement has to be certified in order to properly arrest? But that's in the criminal world. I'm not even sure what qualifications you need to, serve an immigration violation, whatever's here. And my big question is, it seems, and from what I understand of how they work, uh, it's basically the equivalent of a citizen's arrest. So the same amount of power that we would have in pulling people. But if they're all decked out in paramilitary gear and weapons, that makes a difference, right? They make it that makes a difference. So if I go out and just walk down the street and grab a brown person, boom, and take them into custody, I'm gonna have some pretty major issues going on, and rightfully so. But if you dressed me up in fatigues and gave me a couple of weapons, then and I went out and did the same exact thing, now we're kind of in a little different world. So we have to just be really, really careful here. It's not just about holding them accountable for bad behavior, but it's also a huge, huge safety issue. And each one of these people over just going way past the amount of authority that they truly have. And I keep wondering about that too. We're not really getting a lot of um, can you perform a citizen's arrest on a cube? Well, yeah. I mean, technically, a citizen's arrest, I don't recommend. First of all, I don't recommend a citizen's arrest. Okay, I just do not. But there are some situations where if you see a crime occurring in that moment, there are some legal provisions in place where you can kind of detain a person and take them to a law enforcement place. All right. Not used a lot. And in fact, citizen's arrest, more typically what you'll see is they will go in and make a filing of what had happened. So essentially the same kind of thing that officers do, but instead it's a citizen. So they'll write out what they saw, they'll write out their sworn statement, and then ask police to go out and actually serve the paperwork on that person. And then that way it starts going through the court system immediately. So that's more likely of what happens with our citizen's arrest as opposed to kind of what we see on TV. But in this moment, with what's going on here, to me, it appears as though the cubes are doing the equivalent. So if you were to see a cube getting out of control in that moment and try to do a citizen's arrest, I mean, my only issue, of course, is they have weapons on them, right? So I would say not because of the power and authority of the federal government, because of the person the cube is, him or herself, carrying weapons. It's like approaching, some dumbass at, Hunky Dory's down the road, right? After 1 o'clock in the morning when they've had too much to drink and they're slipping around in their cowboy boots, right? So you're probably not going to go after that fella because it's going to cause some damage. So that's why I would say the same for the ICE people. Again, not because of some kind of crazy federal authority, but just because of the amount of weapons. Haven't seen confirmation on it yet. Okay. Right. That's the other thing too. Yeah, power hungry. And there's an interesting dynamic to everyone that is at play. This really is kind of like the crappiest job. But as we've all discovered over the last few months, just because it's a crappy job doesn't mean that you have to do it. There are a lot of people who have resigned and stepped down from all kinds of positions because they're being asked to do things that are unethical and are, go against a person's sense of honor. And if the people here are using, not all of them, but the ones who are using methods that are outside of what should be appropriate because of training, outside of what our police are allowed to do, then they are willing then to pass over that sense of honor. And that's really what's scary, right? Because if you don't have a moral compass and you're in some kind of an authoritative role, that can very easily get into something much larger and more harmful. It's very worrisome, very worrisome. Just having quotas is a big problem. The other thing too, here's the other thing that, again, because I am just not that familiar with the immigration world, but it is actually illegal. It is criminal to set quotas for law enforcement to have certain numbers of certain kinds of offenses. We had gotten into a situation many times in a lot of different jurisdictions where they were saying, we need a certain number of arrests in 1 month. So they could not do that. It was illegal. So rather than actually setting that out and solidifying that in a written form, there's like this kind of unwritten rule of how many people you're supposed to get and so on. But it's not supposed to be something that's actual policy. But I'm not sure what the rules are in an administrative sense. I'm not sure if it's allowed or not. And in fact, this may be worthy of a lawsuit in and of itself to determine whether or not quotas are appropriate, or if quotas are actually a violation of the Constitution when it comes to detaining people. It seems to me like there's some huge constitutional questions. And just because it's civil doesn't mean you don't have constitutional rights. Speeding tickets, right, right. Kind of in that world, kind of in that area. Thank you, Elsa. I appreciate that. Always wanted to be cops. Yeah. Well, you gotta be careful. Because the kind of authority that you get as law enforcement, if you don't have a good head on your shoulder, it's going to really mess up the situation. And what I have found is there are so many with great heads on their shoulders, and I'm so thankful for that. But you absolutely will get others who are kind of like bullies, right? That's right. Tube top. That's funny. Who will uphold the Constitution, right? And there are many that do. All right, next piece here. DHS responds to protests with overwhelming and illegal violence here. So we're talking about the different places they were and excessive pieces. So again, we've got recklessly shooting pepper balls, rubber bullets at peaceful protesters. And then we have some pictures here. Here we have, let me just make sure I know what this is. Oh my goodness. There's a picture and then another one here. I mean, we've all seen, right? We've all seen the footage of a lot of what's been going on there. Yeah, I've heard about it too. I've heard about the bounty too, but no way to really corroborate that. So I'm not sure if that's valid or not. With others to join non-specific federal government agencies for the purpose of not following illegal. That's a good question. And I would have to say, I have absolutely no doubt that there are people inside already working on that and working on kind of splintering up that situation. I have no doubt that there are people on the inside, for sure, for sure. Qualifications are they have a record and they will do whatever they're told. Well, yeah. The part about having a record, though, is absolutely a possibility when you're going through and doing, basically it's like clerical work on the street. So I would say it's possible. All right, here we go. We do have a chemical weapon here. Live stream here. So let's dive in here to the chemical weapon to get some idea of what they're talking about here. On the morning of June 7th, the Los Angeles Federal Building, DHS deployed a chemical weapon against a small group of protesters. Concerned family members of people detained in the building and advocates chanting legal advice towards detained people whom ICE was moving from the building in unmarked vans. U.S. Congress members Jimmy Gomez and Norma Torres, who were present to raise concerns about ICE detaining people in the building's basement, holding cells without food, water, or sunlight, were also subjected to this chemical weapon multiple times. The chemical weapon DHS sprayed into the air caused everyone to cough and inflicted a burning sensation in the eyes, nose, and throat. DHS faced no threat from the people gathered when it sprayed this weapon into the air, nor did DHS agents give any audible warning or instruction to disperse in advance. That's kind of a big deal too. That could absolutely be used in a lawsuit. On the contrary, federal officials instructed the Congress members to wait in the area where DHS released the chemical agent. Ooh, that's not good. On information and belief, DHS deliberately released chemical weapons into the air to deter protesters, advocates, and elected officials from exercising their First Amendment rights. Oh, yikes. That's not so good. That's not good. All right, let's fast forward again here. Oh my gosh. All right, so number 4, DHS escalates tensions with the use of brutal force against demonstrators, then uses those tensions to justify deploying the military domestically against protesters. And I think that we all had a sense of that, right? And again, this is something this administration kind of ramps up the star quality of the situation, right? Like it's a WWF or whatever it's called now situation, right? Where they're like people fighting and stuff to get people involved, and clicking on it. So absolutely that was going on. I have no doubt. Here we do have what is this? Is this Truth Social? Whatever. So here's a quote. A once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. This is the same language he was using in his executive orders in order to allow for this kind of behavior. All right. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs, again, using the terms that allow him to get war powers, are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I'm directing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, in coordination with other relevant departments and agencies, to take all such action necessary to liberate, again, this language is triggering here, Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, yikes, that's like really hateful language, for sure. He pounds his kid. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on here. All right, then we had National Guard soldiers here, and then, so here's some more pictures. We've got, I mean, come on, there's no question that we have military or paramilitary going on. I think this is National Guard. Now, one of the things to keep in mind too is the federal buildings and federal places, that's fine. I mean, that's where they can be there, and the courts have said that that's okay as well. I mean, the higher up courts that have, kind of gone down this road as well. So we have another protest here. It says ice melts under resistance. True story. True story there. That's true. Here we go. And then they go on and, try to do this full, like, press round. What's it called? Like a book tour, only instead of trying to sell their book, they're trying to sell their horrendous behavior. They're like, it's not that bad. Let me tell you what's really going on. So they're selling their lies. DHS engages in a pattern of using unnecessary, excessive, and indiscriminate force against journalists, protesters, and legal observers. Since the protests began, DHS officers have intentionally and indiscriminately misusing militarized weapons and unnecessarily attacking protesters and members of the press. We're just going to kind of fast forward here a little bit. Again, we have multiple pieces to this. On June 7th and 8th, the DHS agent shot plaintiff Sean Beckner Carmichael with projectiles while he covered Los Angeles area protests for the Los Angeles Public Press. Here. And then January 7th, DHS agent shot Mr. Beckner Carmichael in the head with a tear gas canister. Oh my gosh. Let's skip down here. I want to just make sure he's okay. But during his coverage of the immigration raid, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was able to access an area near the Home Depot that the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department had closed to the public by showing local officers his press pass. Mr. Beckner Carmichael spent several hours on the scene. Towards the end of the day, Mr. Beckner Carmichael walked towards the Home Depot with another reporter when he observed Department of Homeland Security investigators who were identified by The HSI letters on their attire deploy stun grenades, tear gas canisters, and kinetic munitions at protesters. To observe and better capture photographs of the use of force on the protesters, Mr. Beckner Carmichael positioned himself at least 20 feet away from the main group of protesters alongside another reporter to safely document the situation. While filming the encounter between the federal agents and protesters, Beckner Carmichael was struck in the head by a tear gas canister, which he believes was shot by an HSI officer, given the force and impact and his distance from the officers. The canister caused a large hematoma above Mr. Beckner Carmichael's right eye, which caused significant pain. Oh my goodness gracious. Because Mr. Beckner Carmichael was 20 or more feet away from the protesters, the canisters are not intended to be used as projectile weapons. DHS agents who undergo extensive marksmanship training either deliberately aimed it at him as a member of the press or were engaged in indiscriminate acts of violence against everyone present. Oh my goodness gracious. That can do some serious damage. All right. In addition to being shot in the head, Mr. Beckner Carmichael's exposure to tear gas was the worst he's experienced and caused severe eye pain and coughing. Despite his pain, he assisted a fellow reporter who could not open her eyes because of the gas exposure. When they had retreated to a safer area, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was treated by a street medic and then went to the emergency room at St. Francis Hospital to treat his head injury. Federal agents shooting Mr. Beckner Carmichael in the head with a tear gas canister is a clear misuse of militarized weapons, which are supposed to be shot at the ground. The way federal agents use tear gas canisters here is known to cause significant and serious harm. Yeah, they deliberately, yeah. That was not an accident. Yeah, the deliberate nature of it. Oh, it's so awful, everybody. All right, on June 8th, a DHS agent shot Mr. Beckner Carmichael in his press pass with a pepper ball. Oh my gosh. So here's another one. Same fella, everyone, but this is the next day. Oh my gosh, that's so awful. On June 8th, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was on assignment for LA Public Press to cover a protest against immigration enforcement actions in the Boyle Heights community of Los Angeles. Mr. Beckner Carmichael observed approximately 100 protesters march from Boyle Heights towards the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles, where immigrant detainees are held. As the march approached the detention center, DHS officers accompanied by National Guard personnel deployed tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd, which included both demonstrators and the press. Among those affected by the tear gas was a 10-year-old child holding a protest sign. Oh, yikes. Oh my goodness. Mr. Beckner Carmichael documented this incident on video, noting that the journalists and news media were targeted by DHS while being clearly identifiable by their bright vests labeled news media or press and by their professional camera equipment. The video of the event's accessible here. So we do have a link. Again, you can pull this up if you are interested. This is the complaint off of the case right here. Despite being clearly identified as a member of the press, Mr. Beckner Carmichael was struck by a pepper ball in his press pass. Although he believes the federal officers are targeting the press and being struck by a pepper ball has him concerned for his safety, Mr. Beckner Carmichael continued to cover these events because he believes what's going on in Los Angeles is an important story. Federal agents shooting Mr. Beckner Carmichael in the upper body with a pepper ball is a misuse of pepper balls, which are supposed to be shot at the ground, not directly at people. The way federal agents used pepper balls here can cause significant and serious harm. So he had, better send the medical bills, exactly. So he had been attacked or he had been injured both days that he was there. Oh, I know, Chris. Yeah, that it was Not a severe head injury. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so awful, everybody. It's so awful. All right. Next, on June 6th and 7th, DHS agents shot plaintiff Ryan Mina with projectiles while she was covering the Los Angeles area protests for the Southern California News Group here. On June 6th, the DHS agent shot Ryan Mina in the thigh with a rubber bullet while she was covering protests in downtown Los Angeles. So let's just take a look here at her story as well. Miss Mina wore 2 different press credentials around her neck, which clearly identified her as a journalist. One from the California News Group and the other was from Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Oh man, come on. Miss Mina was also carrying a pen and a notepad that she used to routinely take notes during the day's events. When Miss Mina arrived at the protest, there was a crowd of about 24 people. After an hour, the crowd grew to approximately 200 people to observe a press conference at the Federal Building. After leaving the Federal Building, Miss Mina walked to the Metropolitan Detention Center, where there were approximately 50 protesters, where there was a growing number of protesters. There were about 100 protesters, and Miss Mina did not observe any protesters physically engage officers. After observing the interactions for a period, a single protester, who was clearly identifiable among the crowd, threw a desk chair towards the driveway next to the building. The chair hit no one and landed a few yards away from the federal officers guarding the building. This is why you need the legal observers, all right? Because they're going to take this chair that was thrown and they're going to turn it into, they shot a bazooka, all right? So this is why you need other people calm and just observing. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the protester threw the chair, about 12 federal officers in riot gear with the Department of Homeland Security and Homeland Security investigators patches emerged and began firing pepper balls at the protesters, who were approximately 6 to 20 feet away from the officers. After the officers filed at protesters for about 5 seconds, Miss Mina backed further away from the group to avoid getting hit and to get a different vantage point of the evolving events. It was approximately 20 feet behind the main group of protesters. At approximately 6:15, Miss Mina was shot in the left thigh with a pepper ball while observing the federal agents engage the protesters. Because of the shot, Miss Mina immediately screamed, experienced significant pain, observed a white residue on her pants, and later documented her injury with photographs. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Although she was in pain, Miss Mina called her editor and was determined to stay at the scene because she felt it was an important story to cover. She remained at the scene until 9 p.m. despite her injury. Later that evening, Miss Mina witnessed law enforcement use flashbangs to clear the area, including one that landed near her. She observed no provocation from protesters at that time. A few days later, Miss Mina photographed the wound caused by the pepper ball. Oh, the Australian one. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, I hope they sue. I really hope they sue because this is really awful. Oh, because she was clearly identifiable as a journalist with 2 press credentials, was routinely writing notes with a pen and notebook, and not close to the concentration of protesters, Miss Mina was either targeted by DHS or subjected to reckless, indiscriminate violence. Federal agents shooting at Miss Mina with pepper balls was a misuse of militarized weapons. Pepper balls are supposed to be shot at the ground, not directly at people. The way federal agents are using pepper balls can cause significant and serious harm. Yikes. So that's pretty bad. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Next, June 7th, DHS agent shot Ryan Mina in the head while she covered protests in Paramount. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. And it's just amazing. These reporters are getting some significant injuries and then going right back out the next day into the field. All right, on June 7th, Miss Mina was assigned to the 2 p.m. shift. Let's make sure I got the date right. Yeah, so this was June 6th, so this was the next day. Covering protests in Paramount related with another ICE raid. She arrived at the scene at 3:30 p.m. Once on the scene, Miss Mina talked to a series of protesters over the course of 45 minutes, including multiple people who were shot with rubber bullets by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Now, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, everybody, that's not ICE, all right? Because the scene was relatively calm, Miss Mina considered leaving the area. As she walked towards Home Depot, where the ICE raids took place, Miss Mina encountered a line of 3 to 4 dozen federal agents. Oh my goodness, who had HSI initials on the uniform indicating they were Homeland Security investigators. Yeah, it is awful. Yeah. Awful. Right. Just peeking here. If we could try to maybe not use language regarding actual use of drugs while we're in the chat, that would be great. Thank you. All right, so a group of about a dozen protesters were 50 to 70 feet away and across the street from federal agents. And Miss Mina was about 30 to 50 feet away from the protesters. She did not witness any aggressive actions from them. The federal officers began firing rubber bullets and tear gas canisters directly at the protesters for approximately 10 seconds. As Miss Mina and her colleagues observed federal agents firing at onlookers, she and another reporter were both struck by projectiles. Oh my gosh. Miss Mina was hit about an inch above her right ear with a rubber bullet, causing significant pain. And Miss Mina saw another reporter, plaintiff Beckner Carmichael, was hit above the eye by a tear gas canister. No problem, everybody. It's just, I just want to make sure that if anyone's kind of walking by the chat, that we don't have any troubles. That's all. I know it's legal in some of you lucky people. Shortly after being hit with projectiles, Miss Mina and her colleagues were both exposed to heavy tear gas, which aggravated her asthma and led to severe difficulty breathing. Miss Mina also experienced intense eye pain and took a photo of her bloodshot eyes. Look at her. She's trying so hard to get her eyes to open. Look at that. You can tell. You can tell that's painful. Oh, bless her. Miss Mina took her colleague to the emergency room at St. Francis Hospital to treat an enormous lump on his head where he'd been hit with a tear gas canister. Well, that's right, VC. Oh my goodness. It would just be Atticus. Atticus would be like, sup? Get the munchies. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that's a really funny picture. Like, put the bong away, Atticus. Miss Mina later experienced vomiting, a severe headache, and neck pain, which led her to seek treatment at an urgent care where she was diagnosed with a concussion. Now, she did get a concussion, so that's pretty major. As a result of her injuries, Miss Mina was required to take time off of work. Federal agents shooting Miss Mina in the head with a rubber bullet is a misuse of militarized weapons. Rubber bullets are not supposed to be shot above waist level, absent an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. The way federal agents used rubber bullets here can cause significant and serious harm. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That is absolutely out of line. Oh my goodness, I hope they're suing. Well, I mean, this is a lawsuit, but I hope they're suing also for the harm that was done. On June 8th and 9th, DHS agents shot Ted Soqui in the head and back while he covered the protests in downtown Los Angeles. So here we go. We'll do one last one here. I know. Exactly. I mean, that's some money right there. We'll do this one last one and then kind of skip ahead because I would like to see what the full charge is here. So Ted Soqui is a veteran photojournalist with more than 40 years of experience Throughout his career, Mr. Sokwe has covered protests and major public demonstrations, including the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Oh, really? A few years ago? Have they? No, I haven't seen any civils yet. Mr. Sokwe has also received formal riot and conflict zone training for journalists through Reuters and is experienced in maintaining safety and distance during such events. Since the Los Angeles protests started in June of 2025, Mr. Sokwe has spent every day photographing the protests at the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. Each morning he arrives at around 11 a.m. and remains until early evening. On June 8th of 2025, DHS officers shot Mr. Sokwe with a pepper ball in the head and with a rubber bullet in the right shin while covering protests at the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. Wow, they really went over the top here. And on June 9th, DHS, and the next day, DHS shot Mr. Sokwe in the back with 3 rubber bullets in rapid succession while covering protests at the Federal Building. Oh my gosh, everybody, this is really rough. All right, let's skip ahead. So we have harm done to multiple people for sure. The live stream they did, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's really the way to do it, so that they're not able to go in and change the stories. All right, we have another one here. Agent shot Lexus Olivier Ray multiple times in the hand and back while he covered protests for L8 Taco. I'm assuming that's kind of a publication, right? Had press written on the shirt here. I am skipping forward here a little bit. Looks like you can see the video on Blue Sky if you're interested. Fast forward. Wow, there's a lot. There were 4. It looks like 4 videos were posted on Blue Sky. Skipping down here, June 7th, DHS agents shot Jonathan Alcorn while he was covering an ICE raid in Paramount for the Zuma Press. Here, let's just make sure. Okay, oh my gosh. Chaotic scene, U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents, whom he identified using his camera and long zoom lens, were firing a large volume of less lethal munitions, including tear gas canisters at protesters. Most protesters were positioned probably 150 to 200 feet away from the Border Protection officers, while a small number were as close as 15 to 20 feet. Oh my goodness gracious. Trained heavily on how many things to include. Right. They should, yes, I agree. An independent media platform. Thank you so much, Sarah. I was wondering. Mr. Alcorn saw no threatening behavior from the protesters, but he did see some distant protesters throwing firecrackers in the direction of Border Protection agents. All right. That's not a good idea. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, everybody. Look at this. Look at that. I mean, come on. Wow. They really overdid it here. All right. So, while documenting the event, Alcorn was shrouded by a barrage of munitions when federal officers fired gas canisters indiscriminately at the crowds. Because of limited visibility due to the gas, Mr. Alcorn retreated to about 100 yards away. They continued firing at the fleeing protesters and reporters, shooting gas canisters, limited visibility. He also heard whizzing rubber bullets being shot by the federal agents. He sought cover behind an SUV. When he peeked above the SUV, Mr. Alcorn was targeted by the CBP officers who fired tear gas canisters that rolled under the vehicle. Officers were targeting him because he was the only person behind the vehicle. Yikes. Oh my goodness. About 2 p.m. while fleeing the area due to the intensity of the gas, Border Protection officers shot Mr. Alcorn near his elbow with a munition, likely a tear gas canister, which caused a significant wound. Despite the intense pain, Mr. Alcorn had to continue running until he was able to take cover behind a wall. This is the press. This is the press. Like, you go into a war zone and people are like, leave the press alone, you know? I mean, this is just absolutely over the top. Hot iron imprint. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, it's so awful. All right. So he kept taking pictures because he believed it was important. And he believed he was targeted by Border Patrol because he was clearly identifiable photojournalist. So he thinks it was because he was a photojournalist. Oh my goodness. Over the next few days, Mr. Alcorn continued to cover the unfolding events in Los Angeles. Days later, he sought medical attention. Doctors diagnosed him with a hematoma and burn on his arm. Ooh, he kept going back. A clear misuse of militarized weapons here. My goodness gracious. All right, we have another one. June 7th, Michael Horowitz witnessed DHS agents indiscriminately shoot a barrage of tear gas at members of the press after protesters had fled the area. So it wasn't even at the protesters, it was at the press. That's awful. June 7th, DHS agents shot tear gas at Dia Cruz 3 times within 15 minutes while she protested ICE raids in Paramount. Yikes. June 7th, DHS agent shot plaintiff Benjamin Clymer in the hand with tear gas canister while he protested the ICE raids. I'm hoping that they were able to like kind of see who the people were that were firing. Right? That would be good. Oh, infuriating. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're just awful. That's just an awful situation. All right, here we go. Fast forwarding. So it looks like, oh my gosh, that's awful. So he sustained an injury to his hand. Oh my goodness gracious. And had to get stitches. He went to urgent care. The wound was x-rayed clean and closed with 3 sutures. So that was some pretty major damage. Agent shot plaintiff Abigail Olmeda in the head and body with rubber bullets, pepper spray balls. Again, we're fast forwarding here now, everyone, so we can get to the claims. Here, oh my goodness, here, took a picture of her head. Oh, she was hit with a rubber bullet. My goodness gracious. All right, use of less lethal militarized weapons poses significant dangers, including serious injury or death. And that's absolutely true. And actually, this is a huge issue going on in the law enforcement community about which weapons should be allowed and which ones should not. Chemical weapons can limit basic human functions, lead to permanent injuries. The use of kinetic impact projectiles can cause physical trauma, including serious bodily injury and death. Here. All right, here we go. Cause of action, everybody. I know, so crazy. First cause of action, violation of the First Amendment by journalists and legal observers. All right, so we've got violations here. Violation, second cause, a violation of First Amendment by protesters. So we've got different categories: journalists, legal observers, then protesters. Third cause by all plaintiffs, excessive force. And then the prayer for relief here. So injunctive relief, attorney's fees, any other relief the court deems proper. So they're setting out, the typical language in a lawsuit. What do we think, everybody? What do we think about this? They're just asking for, they're asking for injunctive relief where the amount of force that's being used is lowered so that it's not at this high of a level. I think that that's okay, but I think good luck getting people who are already have a propensity for getting those weapons out and using them, because they probably don't get to use them very often, right? Like, well, this will be the one time that you can use it. They won't get injunctive relief, sadly. I agree. Upgrade. I agree. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to shake out. I think this would be amazing if it really took off in the court of public opinion, I think. but I don't see that happening either. I mean, there's some real harm here. There's some real injuries involved in this situation. Individual lawsuits claiming excessive force, so that would be a 1983 action where you'd be fighting out qualified immunity, are absolutely possible with the facts that they're setting out here. Possible. Would they win? Not sure, but it would be a possibility. Their faces, nothing will stop. That's a great point too, Estelle. I mean, think about that. These are probably several. What I think about are the people who were so upset about masking during COVID. And then here they are like, okay, well, we'll go ahead and mask because we don't want anybody to be able to identify us. Like, oh my goodness gracious. Curious at how accurate each agent's weapons and regular training is. That's an excellent point too, right? Exactly. Medical relief should be automatic. True. I agree. Right. Because the faces are covered. I agree. So, yeah, we've got a lot. There's a lot of things going on in this case, including some pretty severe injuries. So, criminally, if you were to cause the damage, so let's just go back here for a second. Let's look at one of the photographs here. Is this the stitches? Let's look at the stitches one. Here. So, if you cause, based off of, all right, let me back up a bit. The level of assault you're charged criminally has to do with the amount of harm that's done. And then we work backwards. All right. So if the level of harm is a bruise, that's going to be a low level assault. Assault is an unwanted touching of another. So you could spit at someone and that would be a very low level assault. But so you look